Well, one thing about my guy Fan Guy is that his reads are going to be better than everyone in the house by far who has a bunch of shitty reads so far when Fan Guy said on my cast video that this cast sucks. And they certainly do. I don't know what happened last night. It all kind of spiraled out of control for Taylor. Now, I'm going to try and break this down. The microaggressions speak for themselves, per usual on the show. Taylor came into this night one, and a lot of the women immediately didn't like her. We got night one feeds, so it's not like something happened without us being able to see. All we saw was that they didn't like how Taylor was hanging around the guys, allegedly. But it all came off very petty and jealousy. And I don't think Taylor has done herself any favors on a social level. She has made comments here and there. She put on that dress, although she was goaded into it, so they kind of played her there. But she has tried to make some relationships these last 2 days with Michael and Brittany. And I guess Terrence, but two of those three people are the two people that were on the block, so they clearly don't have a lot of agency in this game. So Taylor hasn't helped herself on a social level, but the rest of the house has devolved into the usual problematic way this show seems to go. And for anybody blaming the cookout as to why the black players can't work together or why the white people are going to see them as working together. And we've seen Amira saying she's having a hard time talking to Taylor because of that issue. But I would like everybody to go back to Survivor Season 4 20 years ago, 2002, to see that this has always been a problem on these games. This is no new problem. The cookout didn't make this problem. The cookout was a response to this problem, which I always have said for the past year. On Season 4 of Survivor, it's Sean and Vesepia early in the game, afraid to maybe be seen together too often because they're going to be paired together and they're going to grow their targets. Luckily, these two eventually decide, fuck that, and work together, and it works out good for them in the end. But that showed that 20 years ago, this already was a problem on these shows from the white players grouping black players together. And here we are 20 years later, still dealing with that. The cookout was maybe one step forward, but we're back to our regularly scheduled program because Grodner is a terrible producer. This show likes to cast players that have nothing but groupthink. They are a bunch of weak-minded individuals. And I see Alex Stern, the new casting director, trying to save face on Twitter, trying to save her own ass, but she's clearly a fraud because her first tweet about the season when it started is, "This cast is loud, they're not going to have a big alliance," basically saying they aren't groupthink. But then you go to their preseason interviews and about 80% of them are saying that they would vote with the house. They're not going to try and shake up the house to save somebody that they're aligned with. That's weak-minded, go with the house players, and that's how we get this awful groupthink that we get. And they lost me when they tried to call Taylor a bully for telling Turner to wash his dish. So this is how delusional this groupthink has already become on day 4 of the game, nonetheless. But this is why Grodner has always been the problem. I've been saying this since my very first video of last season's Big Brother, that this show will never not suck without Grodner and Meehan as producers, because they like to tell the same storylines every single season. There's a big group of players, there's a big alliance, there's a bunch of groupthink. They cast for this. There's no other reason that it would be this way. We see on Survivor literally almost every season how many power shifts there are. But on Big Brother, the groupthink is so strong from the very beginning. So it is a show problem with this groupthink. And the fact that it is Taylor that these microaggressions are going against, who is a pageant queen, who is literally Miss Congeniality. And then you have other minorities in the house just going along with it because they also are weak-minded casted people. And I see people on Twitter blaming that it's recruiting that happens, because a lot of this cast is recruited similar to BB19, BB21, seasons where there was a lot of recruiting and a lot of groupthink, massive groupthink on those seasons. And so we have a lot of recruits here, but I think it's the recruiting process, not the recruiting. On my games on this channel, and I get people are going to say, online games are different than when you're in the house, but like my first 2 seasons of online isolation, they're all recruits. That most of them have never seen a single season of Big Brother or Survivor in their lives when they started playing the game. Maybe some of them saw the circle at best. But on season 1, it was an all-out war between individuals. On season 2, there was a split house. So I don't think it is necessarily just recruiting. It's the kind of people they recruit. They clearly go for weak people with no spines. Daniel's HOH is so spineless, it is cringe. He's the HOH with the power, at least before veto, and he's let everybody else dictate his HOHs. He hasn't made his own alliances whatsoever. He's passing the buck to everybody else. And this is one of the people in the pre-games that said he wasn't going to play this way. So all the other answers saying they are going to play this way, even the people who said they're not going to just go with the house are going with the house. So I guess that gives you how bad Big Brother always devolves into mob mentality. And then to top it all off for CBS Reality, this is airing at the same time as the Challenge USA, where you got Alyssa and Derek X on there saying that they want revenge on the cookout in this game. It makes Alyssa and Derek X look stupid. At least, you know, the big difference with the cookout is they didn't do this kind of groupthink and isolate players like past seasons of Big Brother. So I don't really understand what Alyssa and Derek X are crying about. And to come into a game to get revenge is already bad gameplay as it is. And now this is airing at the same time that this is happening again on Big Brother. It's really not going to be great summer for CBS Reality, but if they bring it on themselves because they keep Allison Grodner and Mayhem and don't make a producer change, they try and throw the casting people under the bus every season, but clearly the main problem has always been Grodner. And spoiler alert for the Challenge USA, if you don't want to get spoiled, you should probably exit out of this video or skip ahead 2 minutes in 3, 2, 1, because Alyssa and Derek X don't even make the final, I'm pretty sure. Alyssa gets pretty far, but Derek X's dumbass might get a little revenge during this game, but his dumbass still goes home before Kylan. So going into a game only for revenge instead of the money, what are you even doing? You just look dumb. Anyway, I mean, there's still a day till nominations actually happen. Who knows if Taylor will still be the renom by then, but it seems like a pretty big consensus. I'm sure the show, however, is in overdrive by CBS, even though they bring these problems on themselves, because they even lost Facebook. When you have, like, Twitter and Reddit can agree at times, they act like they can't, but they do. There's a lot of echo chamberness in both Twitter and Reddit. But when you have Facebook taking the side of the POC, whew, I think you might be in big trouble. If you've lost the majority of Facebook, that's an issue. Anyway, this will probably be my last update for a while because I need a break from these feeds. Honestly, I'm just hoping that NBC and Peacock, their reality shows, just take off. I know that some of them they're using past CBS contestants. I know Love Island is now on Peacock. I'd much rather watch NBC try and get more into the competition reality game than continue to watch CBS like drown deeper into these waters. Survivor will always be my favorite of the bunch. I've never watched Amazing Race. The challenge is so played out and old at this point. Big Brother has always sucked, to be honest, except for maybe some of the first 10 seasons. But for the past 14, they've sucked. And Survivor even tries to ruin itself with its millions of twists. Anyway, as it stands, it looks like Taylor will be the renom. It's they've regressed back to Big Brother 21. The weak-minded,
all around the group think. It's more of the same of Big Brother. If you've seen one season over the past decade, you've seen them all.